Hi everyone, and welcome back for another episode in my Unreal Engine 4 tutorial series. In this episode we're going to take a look at something quite new, and that is traps. So in particular we're going to look at a spike trap. So here's an example of one I've made prior to this. As you can see, it triggers, animates, and also if I stand on it I'll get damage dealt, as you can see by the pinch string there. Okay, so it's a trap that triggers as soon as you walk over it. It will trigger and will only damage you when the spike is up. Okay, so it won't damage you before the animation is finished. Let me just try and time it. Yeah, so you can see the animation starts as I run over it, but it doesn't actually hurt me unless I'm on the spike. So how's this done? Well, that's what we're going to look at today, but before I begin I'll show you what I did in Maya. So in Maya I have modelled and animated my spike trap. So here's the plate, here are the spikes underneath the plate, and here is the skull. If, for example, you can't have the spikes underneath the plate, what you can do is do exactly the same with the bone, but you can just scale the bone right down. So they start off as 0, 0, 0 almost, and when they pop up, they're actually just growing rather than going up. Okay, but in my case, kept it simple, and maybe just go up. So I've animated the whole loop here, so you can see there it goes up, and go straight back down. And I designed it so the animation plays a little bit beforehand as well, so you've got that shaking, indicating to the player that this is about to trigger. So get out of the way. So that's the whole animation. I then exported this animation in two parts, the up part and down part. So up to frame 20 is the up, and then 20 to 40 is the down. Okay, so I've done two exports. Back in Unreal, you want to import these in. Okay, so import them in quite simply as import, choose where it is, and import it in, making sure you set the animation length correctly. I'm not going to go into it too much. I'll do a whole episode later on about animation importing later. So I'm going to pause here and clear out what I've just done so you can see how to make this from scratch. Okay, so I've deleted the previous work I've done, so you can see how to do this from scratch. So here's my import. I've got my spike trap skeletal mesh, my spike trap down animation, my physics asset, which we don't really need because it's not going to be a physics at all, the skeleton, the up animation, and I've made a static mesh as well, but you don't have to do that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create the new actor. So blueprint class, actor, trap, underscore, spike. And we need to add two components to this. The first component is this skeletal mesh itself of the actual spike. And we're going to set it in the right hand side to the spike trap. On this we also want the box collision. And the box collision, we make a child of the skeletal mesh, so it moves with it. And I'm going to scale the box collision to be just slightly bigger than the actual thing. Okay. Click compile, and then go into your event graph. So we don't need any of this stuff. What we do need is one variable called isTriggered. And that's going to be a boolean. So boolean is either true or false, yes or no. So isTriggered will be holding that variable basically if we trigger it. So click on the box component and right click in the event graph and choose and type in overlap. And you want add on component begin overlap. And this event basically triggers as soon as a actor enters this box collision. So the box collision, you can tell by the box in the brackets. We've got other actor, other component, overlapped component, so on and so forth. Other actor, you want to drag out, and you want to cast to the third person character in my case. So this just checks whether or not it's the player that's walked into it. If you want enemies to walk into it as well, then you want to cast this to just actor in general. Okay. From here, we're going to go is triggered and get. And then we're going to do a branch and hook up the is triggered to the branch. So is triggered will be either true or false, and the branch will change based on whatever you set. So if triggered is false, we want to set the triggered to true. So triggered set is true. So recap, when we overlap the box, we're going to cast a third person character. We're going to get the is triggered current value. If it is false, we're going to set it to true. Okay. If we didn't do this and skip this bit out, basically the player could walk in over the trap again, and triggered will be reset again, basically getting in a loop where it just doesn't ever go down. So this stops that from happening and makes it always reset. Speaking of resetting, that's what the next bit we're going to do. So this handles the triggering. The next bit is the reset trap. So here can be a custom event. So custom event, and I'm going to call it reset trap. And simply reset trap is all it's going to do is set is triggered back to false. Okay. So how do we actually reset the trap? Well, we'll reset the trap after a certain amount of time. So after we set the is triggered on the overlap event, we're going to come out of here and we're going to do set timer by event. Now this timer will trigger this event, whatever we plug into here, which is going to be the reset trap. So drag that down to reset trap. It's going to trigger it after a certain amount of time. And if you want it looping, you can make it loop, but we don't want it to loop in this case. So I'm going to type in 2.0 seconds. So after 2 seconds, it's going to reset the trap. Okay. Click compile, and we are pretty much done here. Oh yeah, one last thing we're going to do here is actually do the damage dealing effect. So this is going to be another custom event. So custom event, deal damage. So this event will deal damage, and in this case we're just going to get the player character, and we're going to check whether or not the box, so drag the box, is overlapping. So typing is overlapping actor. Just plug that into the player character. So this node basically asks whether or not the box still has this actor overlapping it. Okay, so this only triggers when it begins the overlap. There's another one for end overlap. This tests whether or not it is still overlapping. So you can see this spits out a boolean because it's a red pin. So this will go into a branch, and the branch connects up to deal damage. And then from here we can deal damage however you like, but I'm just going to do a print string. But for yours, you basically will do whatever you want it to do. So you can make it deal damage by getting to the player, to the enemy, whatever you're doing. You decide what you want to do here. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to do the print string. So damage dealt. Click compile, and we are done with the trap blueprint. Okay, so to recap, we've got the component begin overlap. We're going to check whether or not it's the player. We're then looking at whether or not we are currently already triggered. If we're not triggered already, trigger it, and then set a timer to reset the trap after 2 seconds. The reset trap will just turn off the triggered, and when we're dealing damage, we're checking whether or not the player is still overlapping with the box, and if they are, we're going to deal damage. Okay, click save, and we are done here. So the next thing we need to do is create an animation blueprint. So the add new, and go to animation and animation blueprint. So in this window you want to choose the parent class. So in this case nothing, because we're going from a blank one. And down the bottom you see target skeleton. You want to choose the spike trap skeleton. Click OK. And you want to name it, so spike trap anim BP and open it up. So this is an animation blueprint. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about all its various parts and pieces, but I'll give you a quick overview. So on the left you've got a preview window, and very similarly you've got your functions and variables and so forth. On the right hand side you've got the list of animations associated with your skeleton. So we've got our spike trap down, our spike trap up, and various details panel on the top right. In the middle you've got an animation graph and an event graph. So the animation graph handles what animation is currently going to be playing. The event graph is like a typical event graph. So what we're going to do is we are going to get the spike trap, reference first of all. So we're going to get the reference of the spike trap that this animation blueprint belongs to. So on update animation on this node here, this basically triggers the whole time. It's always checking the animation, it's always updating it. We don't need to get the pawn owner because we are just an actor, not a pawn, so we're going to get rid of that. And all we're going to do is we are going to get the actor, get owning actor, and the owning actor is going to return that spike trap blueprint we just made. So from here we can cast to trap underscore spike and plug that into update animation. So we are getting the actor and we are seeing whether or not it is a trap spike. If it is, that means I can access the trap spike settings. So from here I'm going to promote this to a variable and save it as trap. Okay, that should do for now. Let's go into the animation graph. So the animation graph has this final animation pose, and this is basically the output. So what is animation that's going to be playing? And we could just drag an animation out and hook them up like so, but we don't want that to happen because we need to change which animation to play whenever we want it to. So for that we're going to use a state machine. So from the result type in state machine and you see add new state machine. And if you double click on this, this will open up a new window, and this is a state machine. And a state machine handles what state basically the animation should be in. So as I said, I'm going to not spend too long explaining everything here, so let's just crack on with it. So from the entry point we're going to go up, or wherever you want, and go add state, and I'm going to type in is down. And if I open this up by double clicking, you see a very familiar thing, and that is the final animation pose. And because this is the is down state, we can drag the trap down animation and plug that into there like so. With this play spike trap down selected, I can go on the right hand side and see loop animation. I don't want it to loop, so I'm going to untick that. Click compile, and then click on this back arrow here to go back up into the state machine. So for is down, we can now drag from there and add another state, and that is up. And is up, we can open it up, it's going to be the other animation. So drag that in, plug it into result, and again turn off the loop animation. Click compile. So with that now done, you want to hit back on the arrow and you'll get a warning error on the compile. And basically is that this transition will never happen because we haven't set this up. Okay, and this is the transition rule. So what is the rule that determines this going into this? Double click on this transition rule and you get a new window pop up, and this will determine whether or not it can enter a transition. And for that we're going to grab the trap variable we set up earlier and choose get, and then from there we can access the is triggered variable that is on our trap spike actor. Plug that into there. So if that is true, it will enter the is up animation. Click compile and go back up. So now we can go to is up. Now we need to make it go backwards to is down, so it can reset. So if you drag the arrow back to is down, double click on this rule, and you can do exactly the same. So get trap and get is triggered. But we don't want to drag it into here because we don't want to enter the down transition if is triggered is true. Instead, we want to do a not. So if it's not true, it'll go back to play the down animation, which is what we want. So that should be the end of your state machine. It's quite a simple one. So click back up, back up, back up, and you will see new state machine now goes into the final animation pose. Now the next trick, well, let's test this out. So let's drag this out first of all. So grab your trap spike actor, drag it out into the world. I'm going to make mine a bit bigger, and let's just raise up a little bit so it's not clipping through the floor. Click play. Now I should be able to walk over it, and it should play. We forgot something. Well, I forgot something. So if you go back into your actor, we now need to set that animation blueprint to this actor. So make sure you click on the top root here, the top trap spike self here, and then click on skeletal mesh, and you'll see animation section here. It says use animation blueprint, and currently it says none. Drop that down, and you should see the spike trap anim BP, which we made earlier. Click compile. Now if I play it, you can see the animation plays and resets. But you see the damage dealing thing doesn't happen yet. Okay, so damage dealing, we're going to use a notify. So a notify is a little thing you can put on animations that basically shouts out when stuff is meant to happen. So if I open up my up animation, you can see here, let me just clear the one I previously made. So here you can see the timeline of the animation. On the left hand side you've got a load of details about the actual animation itself, and all the various assets of it. To make the notify, I'm going to pause the animation, put it onto the last frame, so when it's up, I'm then going to right click on the notifiers bar in the middle and go add notify. And here you can already see you can play a particle effect at a certain point or play sounds. So for example, if you want to play a sound on this, you can line it up perfectly with animation by doing it like so, or make some sparks pop up, whatever you want. But you can see here I want to do a custom one, so let me just go to new notify. I've already made one called is up, so I'm going to use that. But you click on new notify and you get a window pop up like so. So let's just go add notify is up. You can name it whatever you like, it doesn't matter. The custom notifier just is custom. Okay, so when this animation is playing, it's going to hit this is up and then basically shout out, hey, I've hit is up. Anything that's listening, do something. Click save, and if you go back to your blueprint, you can quickly get into there by clicking on blueprint in the top right. We can now right click here, and you can go is up, and you'll see event anim notify is up. So this event will trigger when it hits this. So this notify will trigger, and what we want it to do, we want to grab the trap, get trap, and we want to deal damage. Click compile, go back to your game. Now if I stand on a trap, I get damage dealt. And that is basically it. So we covered quite a few new things today that I haven't covered in previous videos, such as the animation blueprint. There'll be a lot more stuff coming out about animations and animation blueprints and montages and blend spaces and all that stuff in the future. But consider this a nice little intro to how to use animation blueprints and animate notifiers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please subscribe to the channel, and if you want to support me in doing more videos and do other things as well, you can support me on Patreon at this link up on the end screen here, and also in the description below, like these fine people have done already. And you can get access to videos a lot earlier, as well as Discord access, as well as many other exclusive benefits just for my Patreon supporters. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.